And I like this because, I mean, I kind of want to see what you were getting at there, essentially, MDF, because it felt like you were really running away with that thought for a moment.
Yeah, I was looking at the Pleasant Piazza, right? The way the map has continued to develop. When the zone pulled west, all of the teams were east. All of the teams were south. They're leaning towards these cactuses, and for good reason, right? However, it's leaving what's left of the western sides of the map to be completely clear. That's why we saw Clicks, Vino, Peterbot, Pollo. No one in sight when the Rift Island positioned itself up, right, on that western side. And they're also one of the few teams at the top of the standings, right? I think it's very clear that teams that are almost playing a little bit of a different strategy, right, getting away from those generally highly contested areas, are finding a little bit more success, at least if you have the skill, right, to take your one-on-ones and you know, farm your tags effectively.
Yeah, and we're talking about teams with skill. I mean, we're looking at Batman Booga, Rapid, Convict, Vanillas, and this exchange that's consistently been taking place as well here at Grim Gate. Last lobby we saw, it did not benefit anybody. Just a clean wipeout, essentially, of eliminations coming out of the Grim Gate. But Yapko, Quanti with a steep outdrop here at Research Rock. But now it's all about whether or not Yapko can actually follow up with a little bit of pressure here. Some slight farmers gonna come through. Nitro splashes getting thrown out. It's clear that Yapko and Quanti want to take the fight early on, but Mixon and Blaha, they've done an okay job at creating some distance away from where Yapko and Quanti are located. They understand fully that if they want to keep having these late game runs that we've been seeing in the past two lobbies from them, well, they've got to make sure they start things off on the right foot here.
I'm really seeing how well they know the map, right? Breaking into the bathroom where there's just a little extra brick, a couple extra walls to work with, right? Gives you all the more of a slight advantage at times, right? Especially with the mass in early game, holding the outskirts like this. I just think Mixon and Blaha are the stronger duo right now, and it shows not only in their ability to land, but their ability to, you know, do what they do so far in the post of the landing, right? Here in the early game. So it's looking good. Jumping to Okus and Bucky, it seems like they've learned enough. They've had enough inside the heart of the Grim Gate. They're trying to play the outskirts here. I like this move. However, last game, it did not work out with Pars deciding that they were just going to key them. But let's see. You know, maybe now that they have a little bit more of their footing, they've been alive a bit longer than they have in the previous rounds, that can actually get something going this time around.
And keep in mind also, though, they're kind of hovering this Pleasant Piazza territory, but Bucky and Okus formerly like dropping at restored reels. And so this might be a portion of the map that's maybe just got a little bit more familiarity behind it for them to try and find some more success factors going for them. But yeah, they are going to have to probably deal with the likes of Baka and Pars first and foremost before they can really get the ball rolling. And you can tell when you're sitting at just 4 points, that top 25 the leaderboard becoming significantly more questionable. I think that for Bucky and Okus, it's a Hail Mary play to just look for that Victory Royale outright.
Yeah, there's only this game and the next one. If you can't get the win, you'll have to get two really big games in order to find yourself a top 25. Luckily, there isn't 6 rounds, so one game is going to hold a significant amount of weight, right, in the overall leaderboard here. If you want to make that upper bracket, which essentially is the next big milestone. For someone like Minish and Cam, they just need the win, but these early game fights are extremely critical here because you're not going to find the tags otherwise. It's going to be a lot more difficult if you're one of the teams up towards the north to find fair fights like this, because most teams tend to migrate towards those cacti and battle around those in more drawn-out fights.
Rigby and Mordecai as well. When you think about how they even found themselves in the upper bracket in the first place, they had quite a scrappy week 2 on the qualifying stage. And here today, Rigby and Mordecai, they're just trying to see if they can replicate some Victory Royale success. All they need is one, right? So at the end of the day, it just comes down to focusing on your own gameplay, trying to stay confident in your own abilities, keep that mental fortitude strong as well, regardless of the outcome, as Miro, Pink, bearing down onto Chronic Vanillas. And Vanilla's just sandwiched between Miro and Pink. Nowhere left to try and escape to. It's a nice 2 elimination count currently for Miro and Pink here at Charon's Crossing. And this is going to be exactly what they're looking for in terms of setting up for their mid-game.
It's the reason why they're amongst the top, but Bach and Pars, last we tuned in, they were under the effects of the Nitro, rushing their way up the mountain, and you can see that it was all worth it for the results here. They already had Bucky by the time they were chasing out Okus there, and it was just a matter of time, so they continue to farm away at points there, just chipping away, keeping themselves very much afloat inside of this top 25. Noxie and Crisp now in a fight up against Zaire. Noxie has the advantage. He's got the high ground. He's got much more points as well as far as his overall position is concerned. His performance here has been very much decent with Crisp, to say the least. Set of eliminations now can set themselves up for success here. There's another team starting to come on in. If you look at the map, they're moving it really fast as well. They've got the high ground. They're looking down onto what's unfolding here.
This is definitely starting to develop into a bit of a party, though, for all teams involved. Although I'm not sure that this is the kind that you necessarily want an invite to, MDF, as Noxie, Crisp now might be needing to look for their bailout strategy, essentially. They can hear the shots going off. They know, hey, all of these aren't from us. There's somebody else that got involved in the mix, and it's Oliver, OG, and Craze onto the backside of these builds here. Still playing through that low ground position, but Oliver will reposition, trying to go for some side jumps here to see if he can clean off some of the shield cracks that he broke through earlier onto Zaire. And now with the Nitro splashes, double shoulder checks into the walls. Oliver, OG, Craze just narrowly missing out on Zaire the first time, but they won't miss on the second go. 1 elimination so far in their favor, and a strong amount of heals as well. Oliver and Craze, they could look to ultimately clean up house here.
Hey, Oliver didn't care if he had an invite to the party or not. He's breaking down the walls with his shoulder here. He's in the mix right now. Craze and Oliver find their first set of elims, but that's not enough, right? They only found just a couple tags. It was a weakened duo as well, so what they came here for was the action, was for the damage. They have the advantage. Look at this. They're going to pop the Nitro once again here, so showing us everything that they're looking to do here.
It's been so exciting, though, to really see the way that this duo has continued to evolve, that being Craze and Oliver OG. I think that Oliver OG especially is playing with so much more confidence. And that's not to say that he's not a confident player. Everybody's going to trust in their own ability to some extent, but I think that we have truly seen some really strong synergy between Oliver OG and Craze. You can tell there's a lot of trust in that relationship, and the fact that they choose to bail in that last situation tells me that they got everything they were after. They understand they don't have to keep trying to force that issue. Here at Redline Rig, though, some problems now for Snacky and Magia. They're trying to see if they can get away, but Peterbot, Pollo, they are not the type to let their food escape.
Pay attention to how Peterbot's gonna go ahead and look to isolate Snacky right now. Typically, Peterbot and Pollo play a little bit of a split offense, working their ways through 2 different angles, almost, again, almost like solos in 1v2s when you watch them take on a team. We're seeing a lot of smart disengagers there from Peterbot and Pollo all day. This is different than anything we saw last season. They've been much more contained, I would say, from the way that they play. And it's the results are showing up on the leaderboards, on the standings. Peterbot and Pollo are very much at the top.
They're just going to play the cactuses at this point. They know they continue to try and hover around, but you can see them circulating around those slurp cacti. They're both full shield, full light. Snacky and Magia, though, again, decent job there in terms of their defensive capabilities. And that will cause a little bit of a halt, at least. We saw Peterbot, Pollo. I mean, the fact that they're just circling around tells me that they understand, hey, this is a team that we can't just barrel into their boxes and expect success every time.
What are the odds that Re and Ritual take a win today?
With 2 lobbies left, I'm looking at them more for some day 2 victory royales.
Day 2 action, upper bracket for sure, as they're sitting at 85 points. 84 points here. One more end game, and they'll be surely positioned inside that top 25. What about Clix and Vino? I mean, they play in Forecast Tower. Things haven't quite lined up. We saw Vino leading them to wins before.
Clix and Veno, I think, are kind of in the same fold right now as Re and Ritual, where it just seems to be one slight play that doesn't go their way, and then everything else, it's almost like a dominoes effect, so to say, where once one thing goes wrong, everything starts to fold with it. And I think realistically, these teams, they have the prowess to make that Victory Royale push. It's just they need all of the pieces to line up perfectly, and they haven't been able to create those scenarios yet themselves. But again, with the talent that's involved, I wouldn't be surprised to see either of them find a Victory Royale here in day 1, but I also think that they haven't had that success that they were obviously chasing after so far today.
And we're seeing that a lot from the teams we're tuned in right now. All of these teams are kind of in the middle of the pack right now, in that 80 to 90 points range here. Tayson off to the far side, Iamzo on the high ground. Meanwhile, we jump in with Cooper and Kanata. Cooper and Kanata have had some amazing early games where they find very, very high damage points. However, it hasn't translated into any monstrous amount of eliminations or anything like that, but it has yielded them very good end games so far. I wouldn't put it past Kanata and Cooper to potentially be up for a Victory Royale now, as there are just slightly less teams in the game. When you win a game, you are done. You're straight to grand finals. Don't have to worry about the rest of the weekends of rounds. You've done what you needed to do.
Keep in mind, though, Kanata and Cooper, they were the epitome of consistency in last season's semifinal. So, if anything, I definitely don't anticipate them to be a team that struggles at all as far as staying in that upper threshold of the leaderboard, but finding that one Victory Royale game did seem to pose a slight issue for them throughout the semifinals process.
I would love to see Muzz and Epic Will actually win a game right here. This team right here has been, I think, the surprise duo of the duos to pop out. When I saw the first concept list, if you will, of potential teams to be, Muzz and Epic Will were not paired up with one another, but now seeing them there definitely raises some excitement. For Chris Minoxie here, Chris missing a lot of critical tags. Opportunities missed surely are going to come back to haunt him here as the surge damage is on, which means other teams are looking to get very much active right now.
And you know, we're seeing Surge be a reoccurring problem for so many teams throughout the course of today. Do you think a large credit of that is due to the fact that these are some southern pooling zones, and it just makes it all the more difficult because when those base Surge threshold damage numbers escalate so quickly and so highly, it can be very difficult for even our most seasoned teams to keep up. In fact, one of the only veteran teams, Bugha and Aviv, as far as veteran players are concerned, I should say, they are one of just 2 NA duos that haven't taken a single tick from Surge this season. Yapko and Kwani are the other, but I'm not sure it can necessarily count considering that they have had 3 early eliminations. They've just been out of the lobby so soon that it doesn't necessarily get to play a part for them, but that is an impressive stat metric that Bugha and Aviv are currently holding on to.
I was going to say, it's way more impressive when you have great performances to show for it at the end of that statement. But yeah, surely Bugha and Aviv have done some serious work. They haven't been the talk of the duos just yet, but they show up. Bugha especially shows up on the grand final settings when it starts to matter. No, other players sometimes they just can't deal with the pressure of a grand finals, or they haven't been there enough times, right? That can't be said for Bugha. Bugha's got what it takes. He's been there. He's overcome those hills, overcome those hurdles. Vino and Clix, the same can be said now as well. There was once a time when Clix was in that conversation of he didn't have enough experience, but now he's really grown into his own, and he's never been better.
And hey, you were asking about can Clix and Veno get a Victory Royale in either this lobby or the next, and I'm not gonna lie, NDF, that loadout that we just saw from Veno's, easily the best one from them today. Blaha, quick eliminations onto Mordecai and Rigby. But again, I think Clix and Veno, they had nearly max mats, very strong heals, good shields to depend on. This might be one of their strongest mid to late game transitions if they can just continue to maintain those resources.
Yeah, I was just thinking, you know, like how many times before Veno starts to figure it out, right? Like he had a couple bad calls, possibly some bad hands being dealt, but I'm feeling like we've only seen them get better and better. Last game in particular, they had a little bit of an instance where they could have went for high ground. They could have been in that end game, you know, top 3 for the win. However, it didn't quite connect, so this could be it. But Snacky and Magia have to get active here, and Snacky finds a lot of tags there, but still it wasn't enough. The Surge is active. The Threshold's online. Iamzo has some weakened walls here. Can they trace him down? It's looking good. That might be one of their only chances here. The only opportunities. And no one's shooting back. They know this is a solo.
If Snacky and Magia can't connect anytime soon, MDF, they're going to be depleted entirely of their healing resources. The last medkit already being expended here by Snacky. A little bit of Flowberry Fizz remains, but only 50 last I checked, so this is a dire situation now for Snacky and Magia. Baka and Pars, they know, just keep our walls closed off, just keep the cones overhead. Teams are spraying at us because they are more desperate than us for their surge damage. And it seems as though the clock is just working ever so steadily against Snacky and Magia. They have nothing remaining, and they won't be able to pull through. Batman Bugha gonna seal this even closer.
It almost looked like his own teammate took him down. I was like, wait, what just happened? Take a look at this replay right here. Kanata, Cooper, 1,000 damage above the Surge, but they don't care. They want to start claiming names and catching loot. They take down Player Phi and Duo, making it look nice and easy. Muzz and Epic Whale from the deep depths of the storm here make a big rotate right now. And they are just wearing the damage on their sleeves here. Muzz especially has been in the storm a little too long, and they're only 10 damage above. Crash Pad not necessarily working in their favor that go around, but hey, they do make it.
It's all that counts sometimes. As long as you get inside the safety of that edge of zone, Muzz can now take a moment to pause. Might have to utilize one of those 2 Nuka-Colas that he had in his loadout, but better safe than sorry, after all. Especially when you consider just how many teams are going to continue to try and go for some desperate measures here. Freeze and Taki, another duo struggling with this storm. Surge damage threshold, 158 below currently. Definitely possible for them to just connect with a couple of nice tags. The question is whether or not they can even isolate a player or a duo in general to find that damage. They're trying to just out-sustain it for the time being, hoping that other players will fall around them and make it so that this damage threshold turns off entirely, but I don't think that's going to be the case here. They at least have this Slurp Cactus to depend on, though, MDF, and that is going to give them a much better lifeline than maybe some of these other teams are dealing with.
Yeah, the biggest mistake they made was actually not look for tags right there. There were so many teams rotating by them while they were trying to scramble back and forth, figuring out how to get their HP situated. They missed so much opportunity, and now they are forced to literally take a box fight. This is about as risky as it gets. So up against Batman Booga and Rapid. Batman Booga, who we've, continued to champion behind, someone who is really in peak form right now, is not the duo you want to fight when you're in a desperate situation. But hey, it's likely the duo that they will have to take on. Rapid and Booga go for the move, though. The hip fires are good so far for Rapid, and they're in position now here. Everyone's landing on top of them, though. Crash pads are just coming out. And it's going to be rinse and repeat here onwards, but Oliver OG wants a piece of the action, trying to get into the fight. Nothing's going to come from it. And every layer, Taco, look at this, every layer. So many players, so many different little skirmishes going down.
Yeah, a brutal beachhead is swamped right now inside of the zone. Only a handful of teams able to actually play from the dead side, but Batman Booga and Rapid, they know too. They've got a lot of eyes on them heading into this weekend. I mean, because of their duo Cash Cup performances, so many people have been riding relatively strong on this duo being one of the, peak contenders for this season. But I think here today we are witnessing a prime example of just how different the caliber gameplay is between those duo Cash Cup lobbies into a semi-final set lobby even, or grands if you consider that far into the future. Miro and Pink though from the low ground, try and make some magic happen. Looks like they just got a pretty nice refresh though. That's gonna bode fairly well for them. And Clicks Veno, again, look at the build count. A successful crash pad rotation as well. Clicks and Veno, they're looking like they're starting to heat up here, MDF.
This is looking way too good to be true right now, as everything is looking to align itself. They're on the front side of the zone right now. They have so much material, crash pads to work with. No one's necessarily positioned for high ground either, right? So it is really just all up in the air right now. Yamzo and Tayson are going to be one of the first to go ahead and touch down up here, but their focus is not up above. It's on who's below them, who's around them right now. So everything is open. But there are so many teams alive right now. 21 teams in the game, and not a single duo was on high. I think Tayson caught a glimpse at the end there, like, wait a second, this could be us. And they start to go for it. Meanwhile, Peterbot taking out one of the bigger threats in the lobby. Pars, Baka, down and out for the count. A team that nearly picked up a victory royale already today, so serious threat crossed off the board.
I mean, we're looking at another 9 players that need to get drawn. Well, make that 8. But again, this surge damage threshold just proving to be the #1 enemy of so many teams left standing here, as well as I'm starting to think these slurp cactuses are kind of working against some of these teams as well, MDF, because that's why we're seeing so many players still up left standing. They can just buy so much time with that regeneration factor of heals, but Clicks and Veno just trying to bide their time here from a mid-ground secondary height position. 8th zone, 9th zone, pretty common standpoint for them to look to try and take height, but down to the low ground, Kanata and Cooper, they're still making sure to keep some knocks and eliminations going strong. One apiece, and Hound is going to join that tally count. Had no idea, never got a chance to even see it coming. Cooper and Kanata just with some impeccable timing. They have so much territory turfed out on that low ground.
Here it is, Clicks and Veno finally go for the high ground now. And they couldn't be more situated here to take a victory royale, but first they have to take care of all these notable teams alive. Peterbot, Pollo, Pink, Miro still alive. Inpen's there on the backside, just lurking around, right? This is not gonna be free by any means. There's way too many duels alive, and honestly, Clicks and Veno came up a little bit early, so they are going to spend a lot of mats. Pollo and Peterbot have the advantage here, as they are not expending as many mats. Look at that. They are still near cap. So is Pink and Miro. So these teams are going to start thinking to themselves now, hey, we have a chance for high ground.
Clicks Veno will get shot momentarily. It might have been Miro who actually got the job done, but still not going to deter them from trying in their pursuit to overtake the high ground. Miro, Pink momentarily holding onto it, but again, so much pressure coming now from Clix and Veno on that secondary height, playing directly below where Pink and Miro are currently situated. And again, just one layer below Clix and Veno, who's going to be Peterbot and Pollo, go. Clix, Veno did opt to drop just a little bit lower. Temporary layer switch. They recognize the fact they've got to deal with some of this congestion taking place in the mid-ground before they can be more comfortable in setting up for that secondary height into an overall height take.
That's a huge refresh right now for Veno, so that's going to put them up in some really healthy material counts now. They have a second chance here if they wanted to go for high grab, but Batman Boogan Rapid want to fight for it as well. He jumps up, puts a little pressure down, and then bails out of town. And look at what happens. Miro Pink out of material now. Too soon, too early, fought too hard, and now they don't have anything to show for it. Clix and Veno swing back around, and Clix is out of mats now as well. And you are just watching the weight of this server lend itself into the inventory here as they are running thin, starting to run dry, if you will, just like the desert that they're playing on right now. Veno and Clix are out of mats, and it's all or nothing. Who's on high ground? Peterbot somehow swings around, and Veno couldn't make it up top, so they will have to fight for it here shortly.
Peterbot was so low. Clix and Veno, though, just couldn't close it out. So unfortunate, but at the same time, that's where Peterbot and Pollo might just prosper. Veno gets knocked in the process of trying to maneuver through that low ground. Peterbot now gonna clean up Clix, so that's gonna be Veno and Clix from height, ultimately ending up being their downfall here because of that play from Peterbot and Pollo off the Crash Pad Jr. And now, Kanata
the trade.
And for a moment, I really thought Cooper was going to take that one away. I am so sorry, MDF. It's like you hold your breath for a second there. But Peterbot, this is all that him and Pollo were waiting for at the end of the day. And they finally find it. Their victory royale in match number 4.
That was an incredible endgame. The high ground retake was almost good from Kanata and Cooper, but the shots trade on both sides, and Peterbot did not hesitate a beat to get the exchanges off. Don't worry, we'll get to watch it back one more time. Look at this right here. Peterbot and Pollo just working through the end game. This started to happen early. This started allowing them to pick up their material counts, and all of a sudden now they were in that running, in the fight for the high ground, and this is when everything traded. But right here, Kanata goes from the outside with the crash pad. It just gets deleted, but not before getting the exchange, and Cooper couldn't even see it coming. Peterbot with a quick, swift justice wins the game there. And Peterbot and Pollo, game 4, are going to the grand finals now, Taco.
And that's looking to be another uncontested team. That Machinist medallion, I think, proving its worth there for Peterbot and Pollo at the very end. But that's what it really all boils down to, MDF, is who's going to be our final team to walk away with that victory round, lobby number 5. We'll find out after this short break.